Acharya.
Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankara Madhyamam
Asmadacharya
Paryantam
Guru
Vande
Parampara
Guru Parampara
Om Sahana
Sarvavahi
Tejasvinavaditamas
Tejasvinavaditamastu
Om Shanti
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 Shanti Shanti
Shanti.
Hari Om
Om Tat
Guru
Sat,
Namaha.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Tat Sat, Om Namah Shivaya.
So, we were on the second verse of the Aparoksha Anubhuti. So, let us rechant that verse. Aparoksha Anubhutirvai
Aparokshanubhutirvai
Prochyate Moksha Siddhaye
Prochyate moksha siddhaye
Sadbhireva Prayatnena
Tadbhireva prayatnena
Vikshaniya Muhurmuhu.
Vikshaniya muhurmuhur.
Okay, so this was the verse we said, which was talking about the Anubandha Chatushtayam, and I give you that sloka also. Adhikari cha vishayascha sambandhascha prayojanam shastraramba phalam proktam anubandha chatushtayam. These are the four factors which traditionally an Acharya has to talk about before he starts the book. Adhikari is the one who is qualified to benefit. Vishayaha is the subject matter. Prayojanam is the benefit of the study. And Sambandha is the relationship between the text and the subject. So the first one we saw, Vishaya is what? Aparoksha Anubhuti. And Prayojanam was what? Moksha Siddhaya, accomplishment of moksha. We saw this. These two Anubandhas we discussed. Now we are discussing the third one, Adhikari. So Adhikari is, Adhikar basically means authority, or in this case it is the basic qualification. The qualification that is required to study the Shastra. So everybody who desires to study something is not able to study, right? Like I might want to be doing a PhD in Harvard, but I might not actually get admission. So unless I have the qualifications necessary. And these qualifications we saw earlier in Tattvabodha as sadhana chatushtayam. And such a qualified person, sadhana chatushtaya sampanna purushaha, in the Tattvabodha terms, Shankara here calls sadbihi. Sadbihi means satpurushaha, noble-minded person, qualified, matured person. So we should also be aware that the word Satpurusha has another meaning. The person who attends satsangs, the person who leads a religious life, a dharmic life, and he may actually be not seeking jnanam. He may be seeking arthakama dharma also. So in the Purva Veda, in the Karma Kanda, Satpurusha can also mean the dharmic person who is engaged in artha kama dharma prapti, right? So seeker of material things. It doesn't mean that we are looking down upon him because he's a Vaidika, but he has not matured enough to come to Jnanam. And here, therefore, Sadbihi means a person having the Yogyata, the Jnana Yogyata, the necessary Chitta Shuddhi, the Sadhana Satushtayam. All this is implied by the word Sadbihi. And such a person, what should he do? Vikshaniya. Vikshaniya means study. So he should study the Shastram. Systematic, serious, long-term study of the Shastram under the guidance of a competent teacher. This is Vikshaniya. Okay. So basically, Vedanta Shravanam. And what does Vedanta Shravanam talk about? It speaks about the difference between samsara and moksha, right? The difference between being mortal and being immortal. And to understand this, one should have necessary qualifications and one should indulge in the study also. Commit yourself to study. And it's just not one round of Shravanam or a few sporadic, you come for one class and you don't come for 10 classes. It's not like that. So he says, Prayathanena muhurmuhuhu. He should put effort. Prayathanena vikshaniya, should study. Prayatnena vikshaniya. He should study the Shastram with effort. And not one time. Muhurmuhuhu. The word is familiar to you from Bhagavad Gita, right? Again and again. Punaha, punaha. Muhurmuhuhu means punaha, punaha. Repeatedly he should study. What is the necessity of repeated study? Because what is the teaching? What the teacher is saying can be information to me in the beginning, but until that teaching has become a fact for me, I should have to study. What is the teaching? Is very simple. Tattvamasi, you are Brahman. And when the teacher says it, when Shastra says it, initially it is information. Somebody is communicating to you that Shastra is saying that you are Brahman. But repeated study, repeated contemplation, prayatnena vikshaniya mahurmuhu, again and again and again, punaha, punaha, punaha. I should be contemplating, I should be doing nidhyasanam. And sooner or later, that tattvamasi which teacher is saying will become aham brahmasmi for me. It has become a fact for me. I will be able to say that I am Brahman with total conviction, right? And when I start to teach, that total conviction has to be there. And unless the total conviction is there that I am Brahman, how can I tell anybody Tattvamasi? Therefore, Muhur Muhuhu Vikshaniya. This Vedantic Shravanam should be again and again and again and again repeated. As long as you are not convinced that you are Brahman, as long as the statement that you are Brahman has not become an undisputable fact for you, you should continue to study. So Vedantic Shravanam, remember, is understanding. It is not an action. It is an understanding. So with this, the Anubandha Chatushtayam is over. And he doesn't talk about the connection, but that is Sambandha, but Sambandha is obvious. So it's a Vedantic teaching. It will teach you that you are Brahman. Now we look at verse number 3. We will chant. Please unmute yourself. Swavarnashrama dharmena
Swavarnashramadharmena
tapasa haritoshanat
Saharitoshanat
sadhanam prabhavet pumsam
Sadhanam prabhavet pumsam
vairagyadi chatushtayam
Vairagyadichatushayam.
Okay. So we know that from our study of Tattva Bodha, that there are two major means for acquiring Jnana Yogata, also called Sadhana Chatushta Sampatti, which will make you a Adhikari. What are they? Karma and Upasana. And both these are discussed in Karma Kanda part, right? Veda Purva part. Because Jnana Yoga is dealt with in the Veda Anta part. Now, when you talk about Karma Kanda, you're talking about karmas. And by now, since most of you have been exposed to long periods of Bhagavad Gita, You are aware that karma has many types. So you have nishkama karma, you have sakama karma, you have nisheda karma or nishiddha karma. So what is nishiddha karma? Nishiddha karma is prohibited actions. So suramna pivet, says the Veda. You should not drink alcohol and you should not eat meat. All these are basically arising out of ahimsa, the value of ahimsa. You should not harm other people. So any karma in which you are harming yourself or harming others is nisheda karma, prohibited karma, you should not do. Then you have sakama karma. So kama is desire, sa prefix indicates with. So karma with desire is sakama karma. And therefore any karma which you are doing for the fulfillment of your desires, these are basically being presented as obstacles for the spiritual path. Remember that sakama karma is talked about in Shastra, right? People at a certain stage need sakama karma. When you do karma yoga, you can start with sakama karma because you have to have Easwaran in your life. And karma yoga means that I am doing all my karma as a dedication to Easwara. It can be sakama karma also. It is the beginning stage. So sakama karma is not papa karma. It is not prohibited by Shastram. Shastram in fact gives lots of sakama karma. Right? So it's a means of getting on to the spiritual path, trying to get jnana yogyata, trying to get chitta shuddhi. But Shastra is clear that if you stay with sakama karma, if you do only sakama karma, if that is become the final means in your life, then they will act as obstacles in the sense that they are not going to pull you down because they are not pap karma, right? They are not going to drag you down, but they will not let you go further up also. So stagnation. You are stuck in the sakama karma path. Therefore, it's an obstacle because you are not able to move further up in your spiritual path. So that is sakama karma. So remember the difference. Nisheda karma will pull you down from the spiritual path. Sakama karma will prevent you from progressing further. Sakama karma is, it stagnates you. You don't progress any further, but it doesn't pull you down. Nisheda karma pulls you down. And nishkama karma is meant for spiritual progress, right? So this may or may not result in material progress. We do not say that nishkama karma will never give you material progress. It might, but it is not the primary purpose of nishkama karma. The primary purpose is spiritual progress. It may or may not be accompanied by material progress. And therefore, nishkama karma is meant to take you further in the spiritual path, is meant for chitta shuddhi. And that nishkama karma is being referred to here by varna ashrama dharmena. So you have to, that dharma, you have to split varna dharma, ashrama dharma. There are two things. The duties, your dharma means duties. So varna dharma means duties according to your varna. And ashrama dharma means duties according to your ashrama. So this is varna ashrama dharma, a common term in Sanskrit. And here karma means nitya naimittika karma, actions mandated by the scriptures. And when there is nitya naimittika karma, also called vihita karma, that is another term we should know. Vihita karma means mandated karma, compulsory actions, which are nitya naimittika karma, which we have studied in detail in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, right? Okay. So when you are faced with vihita karma, you should not be asking, why should I do it? Is there a reason for my doing it? Because you are doing it for a very simple reason. It needs to be done. And that's why Krishna says in Gita, Nitya karma urutvam, you have to do. Because scripture says, because Shastra says do it, you do it. Don't ask why. Okay, so that is Vihita karma. And Shankara says that you have to look at Swa also. The Swa is a prefix. So it is Swavarna, your own Varna, and Swa Ashrama, your own Ashrama. Swavarna Dharma, Swa Ashrama Dharma. Right? Why this qualification? Because the scriptures don't prescribe actions uniformly across the board. Right? They vary from person to person. They vary upon, and this is the old days, they vary dependent upon the person's varna, they vary dependent upon the person's ashrama also. So social status and gunas. So varnas and ashramas you can look at as guna based and karma based. Karmas are there. Your duties are based on your own qualifications, on your own aptitudes, and also on the karma which you are basically doing. So Varna based duties and Ashrama based duties are there at every stage of life. Now, when you say Varna based duties, what does it mean? Karma applicable to whom?
Chaturvarnya, all four varnas.
All four Varna.
Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra.
So if you are a Brahmana, you have certain duties. If you are a Kshatriya, you have certain duties. If you are a Vaishya, you have certain duties. Like that. So Varna based duties. So Varna, that is your own Varna. Okay. And ashrama based duties again dependent upon whether you are in brahmacharya ashrama, grihastha ashrama, vanaprastha or sannyasa. So all this you have taken into account. Now you might say all this is fine, but where is the division now? Right? Varnashrama dharma is practically defunct. Nobody does it anymore. Therefore, how can I look at this and how can I understand this statement? Swadharma ashrama dharmena, right? So it means today in today's world, we can take it as, we discuss this in great detail as Pancha Mahayagnya. And what is that? Deva Yagnya, Pitra Yagnya, Brahma Yagnya, all those things which we discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3. Contribution to Brahmanas, contribution to fellow beings, contribution to other beings, contribution to the study itself, contribution to your ancestors. All this is called Pancha Mahayagnya. And broadly, in today's world, in the absence of Varnashrama, we can take this being referred to by that term. Right? Okay. Then the next word is tapasa. So what does tapas stand for here? Tapas stands for Samadhi Yoga and Upasana Yoga. What is Samadhi Yoga? We all know. Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga is there. And while we don't, as Vedantins, we don't, subscribe to the philosophy of Patanjali, which is dualistic in nature. That is why we reject it. We accept, Vedanta accepts that the steps themselves, Ashtanga Yoga, are ideal for bringing about discipline of the mind and the body. So for integrating the personality, the Ashtanga steps, they are accepted by all Vedantins. So here tapas means austerity. To discipline one's, what is the purpose of austerity? It is to bring about a discipline of the sense organs, to ensure that sense organs will, and the mind will act in the way I want it to act. That I am the master and the sense organ and mind is not the master. So you practice austerity. And austerity doesn't mean going and standing in the Ganga on one leg in midsummer. Okay. You can do small things. You eat without salt for some time. You observe Maunam, silence for a day. If you like coffee very much, or you start with not having coffee 1 day a week, then 2 days a week, then 3 days a week. You go on a fast for 1 day. Everything is tapas. Any willful self-denial, which has the object of that self-denial, or that action, is to show is to establish that I have mastery over the sense organs. That's called tapas. Willful self-denial to establish mastery over indriyas and the mind. It is tapas. Right now, for example, I talked about maunam. Maunam means it is establishing that I can control the talking tongue, And upavasa means I can control the eating tongue. The tongue has two functions, eating and talking, right? So eating tongue, when I try to control, it is fasting, upavas, right? And maunam is controlling the talking tongue. Now remember that your tongue is basically a very strong and dominant organ. Therefore, we say that you start with tongue control, because if you can control your tongue, it will be easier to control all the other sense organs. And incidentally, on a side note, what does the word upavasa mean?
Going inward. Upa is near and Vasa means.
Upa is near, correct. And Vasa means?
And Vasa means staying there. So staying near yourself, that is Upavasa. And that self is I, that's that I.
Which I?
The self I. OC wala, RC or OC I.
So correct. So the Lord, right? So Upavasa, Vasa means staying. Like that's where you get the word nivas from, residence, right? Upa means close. Upavasa means staying near. And Upavasa means staying near the Lord, right? So the very word indicates that when you fast, you should not be saying that I'm going to fast and then go and watch TV, right? What does it mean? Fasting is you are refraining from one activity, you are conserving all your energies, and that day should be focused for dedicating to the Lord, for thinking about the Lord, for doing nididhyasanam, right? So upavasa doesn't mean that you can just fast and continue the rest of your activities. A lot of people do that. They come to office also and say, today I'm on fast. You are not. You may be depriving the body of food, but you have not fulfilled the purpose of the fast. Okay, so upavasa and maunam are means of controlling the tongue. And therefore, similarly, these are all tapas. Similarly, samadhi yoga, that is meditation, deep meditation, and upasana, again another name for meditation. They're all called tapas. Okay. Now, as I said before, you should have a particular attitude while doing upavasa, right? Or for that matter, any of the Panchamahayagnyas, whether it be Mavanam or Upavasa or, Deva Yagnya or Brahma Yagnya, whatever you are doing, remember the attitude should be that I am, and remember here, we are talking about not a jnani. We are talking about a person who is studying, right? Who is the sadhaka. So you are in Dvaitam. And therefore, you have to use the term Lord. You will say I when we come to Jnanam. But right now it is Ishvara. So I'm making this clear because many of you are very advanced students. And many of you have already assimilated the fact that when you say I, it means I Brahman, I Ishvara. But just be aware of the context. Otherwise, you will get confused. Okay, so here the person is a sadhaka. Maunam and upavasa is doing as a tapas. For him, therefore, the attitude should be that I am doing this maunam, or I am doing this tapas, or I am doing the Panchamahayagnya. For what purpose? For the sake of offering to Ishvara. Right? It's being done as an offering to Ishvara for the sake of Ishvara Prasada. I should not be expecting any worldly benefits from any of my actions. And where is this mentioned in this particular verse? Can I make out? Where is the idea that you are a karma yogi here being mentioned in this verse. You can see that the word Hari Toshanat. Toshanam means an offering for the sake of pleasing. Hari is who? Hari is Ishvara. Hari Toshanat means for the sake of pleasing Ishvara, I am doing these things. So when I do something for the sake of Ishvara, we already seen all these ideas. When I do something for the sake of Ishvara, it should be of the best quality. Right? When I do my puja and I'm doing an offering of apples, I take the best apple in the house. I don't take an old apple. So I'm doing my duty. I should offer the best to the Lord. And when I offer the best to the Lord, what has happened? I am surrendering the karma itself to the Lord. And after that, I should have no more expectations. Whatever He gives me, that is going to be what I deserve, what I need. And therefore, we have come back to the base. In this verse, we're talking about the basic karma yoga concept. Ishvara Prasada and Ishvara Arpanam. These two concepts. All karma is Ishvara Arpanam. All karma phalam is received as Ishvara Prasada. This idea is being repeated over here. Right? And Shankara, of course, adds that when you perform your duty, your karma, as an offering to the Lord, the very essence, by saying Ishvara Arpanam, it means I've got Ishvara Bhakti. And therefore, Karma Yoga is rooted in Bhakti. There is no secular Karma Yoga. There is no Karma Yoga without Bhakti Yoga. And in the ashram itself, I have seen a lot of people, are uncomfortable with the idea of Bhakti. So they say, we will do Karma Yoga as selfless service. But what is the purpose? If Ishvara is not there in your mind, then there is no punya being generated, right? So you fail as a karma yogi. There is no karma yogi without Ishvara. So this we should be very clear about. Karma yoga is rooted in the foundation of bhakti. And therefore only, if I have bhakti for the Lord, I offer all my karma to Him. So in Bhagavad Gita, it is again and again said, you should do your duty. Arjuna keeps on being told by Krishna, hey Arjuna, do your duty. Get up and fight, get up and fight, get up and fight. Remember that karma and bhakti are two sides of the same coin. They cannot be separated. There is no karma yoga without bhakti. Without bhakti, it becomes pure and simple karma, ajnani karma. And this is why you should be very clear that karma yoga and bhakti yoga are not two separate paths. In fact, those four paths which they say, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga, jnana yoga, are separate paths. The idea itself is wrong. So Shankara here is showing that bhakti is expressed as what? As karma anusthana, as doing your duties as an offering to the Lord. Therefore, the idea being given here is that Jnana Yoga is the final stage, yes, but before arriving at Jnana Yoga, you should prepare your mind. You should have a Jnana Yogyata wala mind, a mind which is fit for Jnana. Jnana Yogyata means eligible for Jnanam. Adhikari you should be. And to be an Adhikari, you have to do karma with bhakti. So karma yoga you have to do. And therefore, without karma yoga, which is karma rooted in bhakti, sadhana chatushta sampatti, that is jnana yogyata, cannot be had. And therefore, everybody requires karma, bhakti to come to jnana yogyata, and then requires jnanam to come to moksha. And here Hari is Vishnu, of course, but Hari can be also used for Shiva. Hari can be, therefore generally here you can take Hari as your Ishta Devata. So by the worship, by the offering of all your karma to your Ishta Devata, by all these disciplines, what happened? Pumsam sadhanam prabhavet. Pumsam, the person, Pumsam literally means the person. What happens? Sadhanam. Sadhanam here refers to sadhana chatushtaya. Prabhavet, he acquires. Therefore, if you do this in this particular manner, as Shankaracharya is saying in this verse, you will become sadhana chatushtaya sampanna. You will acquire jnana yogyata. And what is this called? Vairagyadi chatushtaya. So it is the sadhana chatushtayam only, which Shankara calls Vairagya Adi, Vairagya, etc. Okay. Now, how long does it take for you to do karma yoga, upasana yoga, and arrive at jnana yogyata? There is no fixed answer. Shankara doesn't talk about it. There is no fixed answer because it all depends upon the level of preparation which the sadhaka is at. So if somebody understands, he understands immediately. For other people, it will take a longer time. And therefore, you will find that there are some spiritual geniuses. Ramana Maharshi, for example. He straight away entered Jnanam at a young age because Jnana Yogyata was already there in the previous Janma. Okay, so that we have to understand. We are not explaining too much over here because the idea is that all of you have more or less received large doses of Vedanta over the last 5-6 years. These ideas should be there in your mind. But even then, since there are many others in this group who may not have the exposure, I'll break here. Is there any concept which has not been understood and which you would require a little bit more explanation? No? Okay, good. Fine. So we go to verse number 4. Please unmute yourself. We will chant. Brahmadisthavaranteshu
ब्रह्मादिस्थावरान्तेषु
Vairagya Vishayeshvanu Vairagya Vishayeshvanu
वैराग्यविषयेष्वनु
Yatheva Kakavishthayam
तथैव काकविष्ठायां
Vairagyam Tadhi Nirmalam.
वैराग्यं तद्धि निर्मलम्.
Okay. So now he takes up, Shankara takes up the what you call detailed explanation of each of the qualifications. The first one is taken as Vairagyam. So the first one here he talks about is Vairagyam. What is the first one in Tattvabodha?
Viveka.
Viveka. Okay. So why he does that? We'll think about it later. But Vairagyam means detachment or dispassion. Now remember, there are some South Indian languages. For example, Malayalam I know. In Malayalam, for example, Vairagyam means hatred. And this is probably a common translation somewhere else also. So you should be very careful that Vairagyam does not mean hatred. Vairagyam means detachment. Detachment does not mean dislike. Because why? Because likes are an obstacle. Raga is an obstacle. Dvesha, dislike, is also an obstacle. And therefore, Vairagyam means you are going beyond likes and dislikes. Right? This is maturity. This is refinement. Or for example, to say that I see the inadequacy of my likes and dislikes because I have now arrived at a higher goal, which is moksha. So when I have a higher goal in life, the lower goals, the lower objectives become insignificant, and therefore I no longer pursue them. This is called Vairagyam. So in Gita, for example, the Krishna uses Udasina Bhavaha, attitude which is that of indifference, neither raga nor dvesha. Okay, this is all being mentioned over here. So, vairagyam is what? Dispassion towards what? He says, Brahma adi sthavaranteshu. So, vairagyam for everything beginning from Brahma adi. So, Brahma here is not Brahman, it is Brahmaji. Okay, so Brahmaji means Brahma Loka. We can take it as all the pleasures available in the highest Loka, which is Brahma Loka, beginning from there up to Sthavaranteshu. So Sthavaram means a small shrub or a small plant, right? Sthavaram can also mean what?
Any
Property.
inanimate object.
Inanimate object. Why is it that you cannot take that meaning here?
Because Vairagyam is being spoken about. So
You can have vairagyam for inanimate objects also, no? Like I might have raga for a car, it's an inanimate object. So each word, if you want to understand the implication, you have to analyze properly. So here, when you say Brahmadi, you are talking about the role of Brahmaji, right? So this person, he doesn't want to become Lord Brahmaji. What does that mean actually? Remember that Lord Brahmaji is also a jiva, right? We have said that many times, that Brahmaji is a role. And because of extraordinary punyam, in fact, the entire Upanishads talk about many, many upasanas. If you do that, you can generate so much punyam that in your next birth or birth after that, whatever, you can become Lord Brahmaji. It's a sort of role, which means acquiring the body of Lord Brahma, right? So that is the highest objective that you have. Acquiring the body of Lord Brahma, which means all the pleasures available in Brahmaloka are available to you. So beginning from Lord Brahmaji's body up to Sthavara, Anteshu, ending with Sthavaram. Sthavaram means here, therefore it has to be a body only, right? It has to be a RC. It cannot be an inanimate object. And therefore Brahmadi Sthavaranteshu means he has this passion, vairagyam, for even becoming Lord Brahmaji or becoming the smallest shrub or plant. Why does he have this passion? What is the reason?
Because they are obstacle to knowledge.
Supposing you become Lord Brahmaji, what is your position? You have become what we call Ishvara. You are ruling Brahma Loka. Point is here that is this position Nityam?
No.
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 So even Lord Brahmaji is subject to extinction, right? At the end of Mahapralayam, Lord Brahmaji dies basically. And therefore, in the next round, a new Brahmaji will be there. New Jiva will be Brahmaji. And therefore, we are saying that this Thavaranteshu Brahmaji just means that all bodies, however great they are there for a limited time, are anityam, and has to be reborn after some time. Therefore, even the pleasure and security available to Lord Brahmaji is not permanent. And therefore, I, who am looking for permanent security, should not be eyeing Lord Brahmaji's position. Right? If you remember reading the Puranas, you will find that there are sayings that if a sadhaka does a certain number of yajnas, 100 or 1,000 yajnas, then you will acquire the role of Indra. And therefore, you will find that Indra is always shown as very insecure. And whenever somebody reaches maybe 900 yajnas or 90 yajnas or whatever, he starts putting obstacles so that he will not complete the course of full yajna. So Indra is most insecure. Why? This is the reason. There is no security available even in that position. And therefore, Sthavaram here has to be taken as lowest form of Jiva. So here Shankaracharya is saying that this particular sadhaka who has got this passion, he is not interested in the body of Brahmaji, in acquiring a body like Brahmaji's and becoming Ishvara, or in the body of a plant. If you are not interested in any type of bodies, what are you actually saying?
You are looking for moksha.
You are not interested in Punarjanma, which means you are looking for freedom from Punarjanma, which is called moksha. Right? So he says, Vishayeshu Anuhu. Vairagyam Vishayeshu. That is the important part. Vairagyam towards all sense objects. And then you have to read afterwards, Brahmaji and Stavaram, etc. And there is the word Anuhu. Anuhu means following. Following what? Here is the reason why Shankara does not talk about Viveka over here. Following what? Because Vairagyam arises out of Viveka only. And therefore Anuhu means born out of Viveka. Shankara has taken it for granted that Viveka is already there. And out of that Viveka, Vairagyam is born. Now, how much Vairagyam should you have? Yatha eva Kakavishthayam Vairagyam. Right? Kakavishta is the droppings of a crow. Kaka is crow, Vishtha is droppings. Kakavishthayam Vairagyam. You should have as much Vairagyam as you have for the droppings of a crow. Right? What does it mean? Supposing you are walking on the road and, a crow flying overhead drops some excrement onto your sleeves. What do? You do that and, clean your sleeve, right? After that, what do? Do you post on Facebook, I have cleaned my, sleeve from this, I have thrown away the droppings of the crow. Do you say that? No, because it is an insignificant event to you. You don't consider it as an achievement. Another example is you put out the garbage every day in your flat, right? But you don't post on Instagram that this is my garbage which I am putting out, because you don't consider it as an achievement. That is the message here. That Vairagyam should be so much even for Lord Brahmaji's body, that even if you achieve that body, it is not achievement for you. And a very, very subtle message is being conveyed here. Okay? What is that? Whoever claims I am a sannyasi, he is not a sannyasi at all. Because he has considered taking sannyasa as an achievement. You get the message? Sannyasa is in our scripture, sannyasa is glorified because a person renounces everything. So here Shankara is saying that if you have renounced everything, it is okay. But if you think that's an achievement, then you have not really renounced. Okay. And in this connection, I can tell you a story. So there was a man in a village who studied a lot of Shastram and all that, and finally he became a sannyasi. So he renounced the house in the village, he renounced all the money in the village which he had, the farmland which he had renounced, and he became a sannyasi and went away. Now several years later, he came back to that village while traveling. The villagers, of course, naturally were very proud of him. So they, had a function in his honor. And people were talking and speaking and saying what a great man he is, right? Then finally they said, Sannyasi ji, can you get up and speak for a few words? So Sannyasi got up and said that, actually, I see that all of you are much greater sannyasis than I am. So they were all astounded. They said, how sannyasi, how can you say that? We are not sannyasis. He said, no, I have renounced only finite things and I have become a sannyasi. But you people, you have renounced the infinite itself and you have remained as people who do only finite things. So who is the greater sannyasi? The one who renounces the infinite is a greater sannyasi or not? So he says, yes, you are a greater sannyasi. The idea is that you should, sannyasa is fine, but the idea that I am taking sannyasa destroys that whole thing. Okay. So here, for the sadhaka, the entire universe is kakavesthayam, is like a crow's droppings. And very importantly, anuhu, that has to be born out of your viveka. You can have dispassion born out of other sources also. Right? I don't know, at least in India I have seen. Whenever there is a death, and then you go to the cremation ground and there the body is burnt. Then when you come back, everybody talks about the futility of life and knowledge and how it is greater to be, it renounce everything. Dispassion is there. But that dispassion is born out of what? Not out of study of Shastra. That dispassion is born out of the graveyard. So it is called Samshan Vairagyam. You have gone to the graveyard and that environment has generated a certain amount of dispassion in you. It won't remain very long. So that's why he says anuhu. The dispassion is not to be born out of disappointments in life or somebody dying or something. It has to be born out of vairagyam only. Otherwise, as long as the smoke of the funeral pyre is present, the vairagyam will be present. The real vairagyam is born out of viveka. What is the understanding of viveka? That any dependence on any object is bondage. And that is why I have to have vairagyam. So I have to be very clear in my mind that vairagyam can be permanent and pure only because of understanding. Vairagyam born out of understanding alone is permanent. Therefore, anuhu here indicates viveka janyam, born out of a study of Shastra, not born out of any unfavorable condition or any problems in the world or problems which I am facing. Okay. Then vairagyam tadhi nirmalam. That you have to break up. Tadhi has to break up. Tat hi nirmalam. So vairagyam tat hi nirmalam. That vairagyam which is anuhu, which is born out of Shastra study, nirmalam. That vairagyam alone is nirmala, shuddha, pure. That is called pure vairagyam. All other types of vairagyam, samshan vairagyam, etc., are ashuddha vairagyam. Okay, any questions? These are all ideas which have been there, which are being repeated. But in case of any questions, please ask. Okay, so let's do the last verse for today. We'll go to verse number 5. We'll chant. Nityam Atma Swarupo hi
Nityamaatmaswarupahi
Drishyam Tad Viparitagam
Drishyam Tadvaparitam
Evam Yo Nishchaya Samyak
Evam yo
Samyak
Viveko Vastuna Savai.
Viveko Vasavai.
Okay. So we said that only that vairagyam which is anuhu, born out of Shastric study, born out of viveka, can be called pure or real vairagyam. Right? So that was definition of vairagyam. So now Shankara thinks that since he said that Vairagya is born from Viveka, he should also define Viveka. So this defines the what is Viveka. Viveka is what we know from Tattva Bodha. What is the definition of Viveka?
Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka.
Nitya, Anitya, Vastu. The difference, understanding the difference is Viveka. So he says here, Nityam is what? Atma Swarupaha. Nityam means Atma Swarupaha. In the language of Vedanta, it is Atma. In the language of Karma Kanda, it is Ishvara. Neither Atma nor Ishvara can ever be experienced. So Nityam Atma Swarupaha and Tat Viparitagam, everything opposite. Everything opposite of what? Nityam. Right? So those words you have to remember carefully here. Nityam means what is Atma Swarupaha, which means either Atma or Ishvara, either way. One is the Vedanta language, one is Karma Kanda language. So Nityam is Atma Swarupaha and Tat Viparitagam means opposite of Nityam is what? Anityam. And what is that? Drishyam. Everything that is seen, everything that is experienced is the opposite. So Drishyam Tat Viparitagam, everything that is experienced is the opposite, which means everything is Anityam. Everything opposite is Anityam. For any object of experience, of course, we know is experienced where there is a particular time, there is a particular space, right? And that is why in Sushupti, where the mind is resolved, there is no time and there is no space for you. That is why you don't experience anything. Therefore, all experiences can take place only in Jagrata Avastha and Swapna Avastha, both of which avasthas have time and space. And therefore, any experience in time and space is anitya. So that's what he means. Drishyam means everything that is the opposite of nityam, which is anityam, and drishyam is any experience in time and space. Therefore, anything which is experienced in time and space is called anityam, is called drishyam. Desha kala atita. Beyond time and space, there is only Atma, there is only Ishvara. Everything opposite is Nitya. Atma, Ishvara alone is Nityam. So, to use the Sanskrit words for observer and observed, Sakshi, the observer, is Nitya, eternal, while Sakshyam, the observed, is Anitya. Ishvara is Nitya, Jagat is Anitya. And what should you do? Evam yo nishchayaha. Evam jnanam. Sacha jnanam nishchayaha should be very clearly understood by you. Right? Okay. Now, what are the sources of this jnanam? So you can have Shruti Pramanam, which says that Ishvara is Nitya. You can have Yukti Pramanam, logic also. What does logic tells you? That everything which is born dies. And therefore, everything which is born out of karma, either good karma or bad karma. The body is born out of karma. The lokas, the universe itself is born out of karma. Indra enjoys his position because of karma. Brahmaji enjoys position because of karma. Therefore, anything born of karma, your pratyaksha tells you that some body is born, that body dies after some time. And therefore, anything which is born of karma will die soon. So, Yukti Pramanam also tells you that anything born out of karma is Nitya. And only Ishvara or Atma is, only Ishvara Atma is Nitya. Anything born out of karma is Anitya. So Shruti Pramanam says Ishvara is Nitya. Yukti Pramanam says anything which is experienced or born is Anitya. Your own experience, Anubhava Pramanam, tells you that everything has got a beginning and has got an end. Right? Because in your life, you see things beginning and you see things ending. There may be long durations, there may be short durations. Planets have much longer durations You don't see them because your life is shorter, but you can do a analysis based on understanding. Since the planet is born, that planet will also die. So everything which is born will die. Everything is anitya only. So based on these three sources, Shruti, Yukti, and Anubhava, your understanding should be very firm that Ishvara alone is nitya. Everything else is anitya. This knowledge is nitya, anitya, vivekaha, which is called vivekaha. And in Tattvabodha, we saw that viveka was put first. Viveka, Vairagyam, etc. But Shankara puts Vairagyam first. Shankara doesn't explain why. But a subcommentator says that when Viveka is there, and with continued study, that Viveka, ripens, gives fruit. What is the fruit? The fruit is Vairagyam. Only when Vairagyam comes will the sadhaka have a firm commitment to Jnanam. And therefore, Shankara says, Vairagyam is most important. So he puts it first. So with this, we'll stop for the day. Any questions?
Ravi ji, hi,
Yes,
I'm
Dr.
Acharya. You mentioned Ishvara as Nitya, but are you referring to Brahman? Because earlier you mentioned Ishvara as Brahma, and we said he's
No,
Anitya.
not Brahmaji. Brahmaji we refer to as Hiranyagarbha, but Ishvara we refer to as Maya plus Brahman, both of which are Nitya. So Ishvara is, in Tattvabodha terms, is Antaryami.
Okay.
From Antaryami comes Hiranyagarbha, from Hiranyagarbha comes Virat. So the subtle universe comes from Antaryami, and the gross universe comes from Hiranyagarbha. Subtle universe and gross universe are temporary, they have death. But Antaryami is basically Ishvara, Maya plus Brahman. Maya is eternal, Brahman is eternal. That is what is Ishvara over here. The confusion can arise because we normally refer to Hiranyagarbha also Ishvara, which is actually wrong. We should refer as Hiranyagarbha only.
Okay. But then we also say Maya has an end.
Maya doesn't have an end. Maya's influence on you can have an end. Because Maya is beginningless. Anything beginningless cannot have an end.
Although once we have moksha, then Maya is technically not.
No.
Is or not?
See, when you have moksha, it simply means that, I mean, in technical terms, it means that your individual, physical body has been lost. Your subtle body has been lost. And though we do say that moksha destroys the karana shariram, there is a problem with that, right? Because karana shariram is matter, and matter cannot be destroyed. Therefore, the right understanding is that because of the knowledge, the individual karana shariram remains. It cannot be destroyed, but its functionality of reflecting the OC, that is gone. And therefore, you say the individual is destroyed.
Isn't matter also a function of Maya?
Matter is Maya.
Yeah. So you say that's
visible
that's
part
nitya.
of matter is Maya. Mithya. Mithya means dependent. So it's existing, but is very much there.
Not nitya. Nitya. It's eternal.
It's eternal. Matter is eternal. Matter cannot be destroyed. Matter can only convert into energy or matter. That's also it's part of science. E is equal to mc squared.
Yeah.
Matter can never be destroyed. So that's why we say Maya is eternal, because Maya is part of Brahman, not even, and we say Ishvara cannot create Maya at all, nor can he destroy Maya. All that happens is Maya changes forms from manifest to unmanifest. Unmanifest Maya, when it is there, it is called Pralayam. Manifest Maya, when it is there, we call it the world.
Thank you.
Acharya ji, I have been wondering that when we talk of Brahma ji, we know it's a role assigned to a jiva for a whole lot of punyam. But we also studied in the previous chapter that when someone goes to Brahmaloka and goes to study with Brahmaji and gets Brahmanyanam, he gets moksha as in Krama Mukti. So I was just wondering, how come Brahmaji is just a role and he can still impart Brahmanyanam to somebody?
Right? All of us are imparting Brahmagyanam. We are only ordinary jivas, that is Brahmaji.
And so is that so for the Trinity? For not just for Brahmaji, is it true for Vishnu and Shiva?
See, you should not think of Vishnu and Shiva as individuals. Brahmaji also not an individual. It's a role. It's an aspect. So Ishvara, that is Brahman plus Maya, has three aspects: creation, maintenance, and destruction. These are the roles that you give.
Right.
Krishna also gave
Krishna's
Brahma
avatar.
Gyan to
Avatar is
Arjuna.
different. Avatar is
Right, but
Brahma.
Avatara,
No, she's talking about the Trinity. She's talking about Brahmaji, Vishnu, and Shiva. Are they also roles? That is what she's asking. What is the answer?
yes, they are
They have
aspects
to
of.
be. Any
Yes.
aspect has to be a role, right? And if you're asking whether it's a human, it's a being, then it's a difficult question. Because we also say that the totality of what is Ishvara? It is the three universes and the consciousness reflected in the three universes.
Hmm.
That's why I say that you have to keep on listening until these questions die out.
Yes, but when I keep on listening, some of these questions keep on.
Happening, correct. So you keep on listening.
Yes.
When you keep on listening, some questions will die, some more will come. Sooner or later, all questions will die. Maybe later.
Yes,
But
I had been waiting for a while, quite a while.
yes, true.
Thank you, Acharya.
Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamada Purnamidam
Purnamada
Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashyate Shanti
Shanti
Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Acharya.